Hey guys, Bazzize here, and today I'm back for day number 6 of PettyRevenge. And again, I'm just literally just going through this and finding good stories to read. That's all I can do at this point with this one. First up, asshole pickup truck won't let me merge over to Leia's ass by. Fine. Enjoy getting fucked with and getting a big fat ticket to boot. I was helping my friend move last weekend and we're driving down a double lane highway. Speed limit 50, about 10 at night. Asshole in a lifted truck and the blue ass blinding high beams and fog lamps come speeding up behind, and I mean full fucking asshole high beams. It's fairly common for people to race down this stretch late at night with few others on the road. I'm following my friend in the left lane, coming up on another car to pass that is in the right lane. At first, I'm like, whatever, moron, I'll just merge back over to the right and let douche truck pass. I'm too tired to deal with this shit and been going back and forth all day. Well, even though I signal and I'm starting to merge over into the right lane, douche truck gets shitty and decides to cut around and ride the ass of the other car in the right lane so I can't complete my lane change. Okay, idiot. So I decide to just keep going and pass the guy on the right. He swerves right back around and rides my ass again. My friend in front of me eventually sees what's going on and he moves over to the right lane and I pull up behind him. I pull up beside him. We both smile at each other and decide to fuck with douche truck. We both talked before about how much we hate assholes in lifted trucks driving like fucktards with illegal lights. First, my friend speeds up a bit and the douche cuts over like he's going to weave through. Then he slows down and I speed up and he cuts back over. We do this for about 2 miles until the speed limit drops to 25 right before Walmart and the center lane opens up. We both slow down to exactly 25 at the reduce ahead sign, well, before the actual sign, which makes this guy even more pissed. He decides to floor it past us in the center lane, through the intersection right past a cop SUV. Cop does a quick U-turn and flips his lights on and nabs douche truck going probably 70 in the 25. We finally get to his house, and the whole time we're unpacking, we can't stop laughing. Watching douche truck get fucked provided us the morale boost we needed to finish up that night. As I'm probably going to start sounding like a broken record because a lot of these stories are cars and absolute idiots in cars. Don't be that person that's just like, I'm going to run your ass and speed right behind you. Just stupid. It's like, I'm gonna be that asshole that's just like, I'm gonna steal up your ass. Okay. I cut my lawn in random directions because it drives my neighbor crazy. My neighbor is a retired 70-something former preacher or pastor or whatever. He's also a judgmental prick who, despite not living in a neighborhood with a HOA, makes weekly rounds through the neighborhood looking for any minor code violations. Things like flowers that are overhanging onto the sidewalk by an inch or two, etc. He can report to the city to get the owners fined. He mows his lawn twice per day during the summer and has a bed of green that would make Hank Hill cream himself. Damn it, Bobby! I take pride in my yard, but it's 70% native plants and wildflowers with a small patch of grass in the front. I don't water the grass because pouring water on the ground seems stupid to me, but it, along with a healthy mix of other stuff, comes in pretty full. There aren't any bare spots anyway. I mow every 5 days, less if we're in a dry spell and it grows slower. Anyway, when I get out there, I cut all the grass, but with a focus towards leaving a path that is as baffling as possible. Sometimes I attempt a checkerboard and then veer off into spirals. Other times I will approach with an even more abstract eye. The grass doesn't seem to mind and I enjoy the challenge of thinking of new ways to traverse the lawn. Today I saw my neighbour standing out with his fuck-up grandson that got sent to live with him for some reason. He was complaining to him about something, throwing his hands up in the air, clearly very exasperated. Then he gestures towards my lawn and then makes a little spiral gesture while contorting his face in disgust. I don't know exactly what he said, but I imagine he was lecturing him about how if he didn't get his life together, he'd end up like me, the neighbour with the weird lawn. Small victories, you know? That's not really PettyRevenge. That's just like, dude's just seen your lawn and it's so bad he has to get his grandson, who's probably done some bad things in the past, to be like, don't be this guy. Just don't be this guy. Be better than him. So, you don't really lose out. Tailgate and honk on a single lane street? How'd that work out for you? This happened a few months ago as I was driving my work van, the biggest Mercedes Sprinter you can drive without a commercial license, around Amsterdam delivering groceries. This story takes place on a single lane road with high curbs on both sides that take you from one neighborhood to the other. Speed limit is 50 kilometers per hour, though it could have been 70 except in some tight corners. Now, I've driven here so many times before that I feel comfortable doing 60-ish, just a bit faster than normal, without the risk of getting caught speeding in an urban area. Suddenly, I hear a loud beep behind me, and when you know it, it's a BMW. What a surprise, I think to myself. I was quite impressed by my ability to guess the brand of this automobile, because everything forward of the rear doors wasn't visible in my mirrors. The tailgating and honking continues for a little while as I spot the perfect opportunity to teach this IKEA pencil-equipped douche a lesson. A long straight section in the road. For those of you who haven't been in the Netherlands before, a government loves two things: taxes and using those taxes to build speed bumps. Oh shit. As such, we have a wide variety of speed bumps, and the straight section was equipped with my personal favourite, the bus bypass variant. A trapeze block just wide enough that a normal car has to pass over it with at least one wheel, but a bus can pass over it unobstructed. I've had plenty of practice with these obstacles and line up for a flawless pass while accelerating to a mind-numbing 70 kilometers per hour. The BMW is still glued to my rear bumper. I pass over the obstacle without the slightest inconvenience. The oblivious BMW driver, however, hits it in the worst possible way, launching himself into the ceiling of his car and grinding his oil pan as the suspension compresses. After that, he kept a good distance. Ow! Again, it's a single lane street, 50 kilometers per hour. Like, do the fucking math on that and not be dumb. I love how I wonder if you actually saw like him getting launched into the ceiling of his own car. Oh my gosh. She tried to stop me from saving a man's life. I worked in an emergency room, ER, for 6 years, so I am full of stories, but when it comes to PettyRevenge, this one sticks out in my memory. P is patient, PD is patient's daughter, CP is critical patient, me is obviously me. Every person who has worked in the ER knows that Mondays are the busiest of the week, and also when all the crazies come out. This day was no different. I worked as a nurse in triage, where you initially get assessed in the front before going to the back. Here we determine who needs to go back first and who can wait. It's not first come, first serve, as most people think. We had a few stretchers in the front for people who needed to be monitored a little closer or needed IVs, blood draws, labs. There were 6 stretchers, but this day was so busy, all 6 stretchers were filled, plus 5 more in the hallway. This lady comes in on an ambulance, but because the symptoms did not indicate an emergency, she was put in stretcher triage to wait her turn. She was in a lot of pain. After assessment, I recognized her symptoms as being caused from gallstones. Painful, but not life-threatening. We put her on a stretcher, started an IV, drew labs, and hooked her up to a monitor just in case. A few minutes later, PD comes in the front door. One look at her, and we know she would cause problems. She had everything from the shoes to the haircut. A classic rich Karen. Oh yes, gotta love those. When she saw that her mum was still in the front and hadn't seen a doctor yet, she started screaming that she knew the CEO of the hospital and that we would all be fired if we didn't get her mum back to see a doctor right now. We explained that her mum has a history of gallstones, and even P was saying that she had this pain many times because of the gallstones. We explained that being really busy and that there were no rooms in the back, and we'll get her back as soon as we could. She eventually calmed down, but was still antsy. About an hour later, another patient, CP, comes in and was put in the stretcher beside P and PD. This patient had worrying complaints, but on initial assessment, we could not find anything wrong. Now, as a nurse, you learn to always trust your gut. When your gut sounds an alarm, you listen. Something about this patient was setting my alarm bells off, but all his vitals were normal, and I had no solid evidence to declare him an emergency. I hooked him up to the monitor and kept a very close eye on him. I let the charge nurse know of my concerns, and she said to let her know as soon as something changes. Not 5 minutes later, something changed. Oh my gosh. Now, at this time, I should explain that this hospital was a level 1 trauma center, meaning we get all the bad cases from car crashes to gunshot victims. We were in the middle of gang territory. Since we had to be ready for any traumas, life-threatening injuries, we had a room with 3 beds that was closed off from the rest of the beds because traumas usually involved a lot of people and a lot of blood. Even on busy days like this one, those rooms were empty unless there was a trauma patient. Now, back to CP. I was taking vital signs of P when I looked over to CP. I noticed a worrying change in his rhythm and stopped with P to start assessing CP to see what was going on. That did not sit well with PD. She actually grabbed my arm and told me to finish with her mum. I jerked my arm free and said I had to make sure CP was okay. As I turned around to CP, his rhythm went into VVIB, life-threatening rhythm. I called the charge nurse to inform her of CP's condition, all the while unhooking CP from the monitor and throwing his bed into drive. As I started pushing him back, PD actually jumps in front of the stretcher and stops it. She screams that her mum was here first and needed to be seen before CP, and screaming that I was a liar and that she was going to get me fired. I'm usually a mild-tempered person, but knowing CP was literally minutes from dying, I said to PD, "You have a choice. Get out of my way or get run over," as I started pushing the stretcher forward. Now, I'm really good at pushing stretchers fast and getting the patients where they needed to go in a hurry. One of the reasons I was part of the trauma team. PD tries to stand firm, but she saw I wasn't going to stop and jumped out of the way just as I was an inch from hitting her. Unfortunately, she did not move fast enough, and I ended up running over her foot. At this point, I didn't care and got the patient back to the trauma room, leaving PD screaming, lying on the floor. We spent about 30 minutes on CP, but he ended up dying. By the time I got back up front, P and PD had been taken to the back to see a doctor, but my charge nurse warned me that they were filing a complaint against me. A few days later, the actual CEO of the hospital came to visit me on my next shift. He was known to be a kind and fair man. Since this happened during a time before cameras were put in the ERs, he had to take what happened from word of mouth. Apparently, PD said I assaulted her several times and put her mum's life in danger by not assessing her properly, and that I should be fired. Turned out that P did actually have gallstones and nothing else. Also, PD's foot was broken due to me running over it. I calmly explained exactly what happened and that PD's action might have ended up in CP dying because of the delay she caused by her actions. When I got to the part of what I said to PD and running over her foot, the CEO actually started laughing and then tried to cover his mouth to hide his laughter. He explained that PD was a friend of his sister and he knows what kind of person she is. Not only did I not get fired, but he put a personal note in my file praising my actions. On my next review, I got a large raise and a bonus thanks to the CEO's note. Well done! You need to check my mum first. No, this man literally is dying. And he most likely could have survived if you didn't stop me. Like, do you have brains? Like, seriously. Oh, he's fine. My mother was here first. She's more important. It's fucking gallstones. And with that, I'm going to end this episode here. Links will be in the description to my main channel and also my second channel, which is the one you're on right now, watching this exact video. Also, links will be to the last video and the playlist on the screen, as you see. They're popping up now. Also, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you know when next video comes out. Ding, ding. I'm Mad Scientist. Mad Scientist out.